Welcome back to the Funniest Person in the Twin Cities podcast. I'm your host, Bryan Miller, and we're here on a podcast where we talk about a comedy contest that's been running almost 35 years from now and has produced a ton of great comics. And we're here with a former contestant like myself and a fellow Acme comic like myself, Ira Ford, my buddy Ira.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right.
Glad to have you on here. You know, it's funny. I hadn't had you on because I guess I didn't. Because some people don't do the contest.
Right.
I did not know that you did the contests.
Yep.
When was it? Was it like early on when you first moved?
It's 2017, 2018.
Okay.
The year Nate Nickel won.
Okay. So I knew you then though,
Right,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Okay. And how long had you lived? Because I guess actually you don't even 100% know this. I know you lived in Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
And you moved out here from Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Were you doing comedy at all in Baltimore?
Yeah.
I thought
started,
so.
Yeah, I started doing comedy in Baltimore, Maryland.
Or Maryland, yeah.
I didn't start taking it super seriously until I moved here, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, because how often did you do it when you were out on the East Coast?
Oh, man. I would say on a weekly basis, 0 to 3 times a week.
Sure. So sometimes you might take a week off. Sometimes you might
Right.
go to a couple of mics.
Right.
So you were like, it's not like you did it once or twice. Like you were doing it.
Right, yeah.
But were you just kind of goofing around, like having fun, basically?
Yeah, I was, my main focus was women and,
I thought you were gonna say rap. 'Cause you rap before you did comedy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so was there any connection between the two where you're like, hey, I'm already out, I'm doing these shows, I see an open mic, or was it just sort of separate?
No, actually they are separated because I did my first open mic drudging the end of my rap career. I felt I was getting too old. So
Sure.
There's no age cap on comedy.
No, I mean, it's dude, that's funny because sometimes I feel old even being in comedy because, like,
Right.
oh my God, you see all these kids we work with, they're in their early 20s, right?
Right,
I'm like,
right.
I'm a million years old. But, like, comparatively to, like, rap, right? Or honestly, any music.
Right.
Right? Like, rock music, pop music, rap, R&B, any of it, unless you're, like, super established already, like, when you're 40, it's like, who's this dusty old skeleton?
Yep,
You know?
yeah.
Like,
in entertainment, music mainly, it has a shelf life.
yeah, it really
know,
does.
And once you reach that, it's over. You know, I mean the music you made when you were younger is always going to be timeless if you're established.
Sure.
But they're not checking for you anymore once you.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, it starts being weird. It's like I'm rapping about that time I broke up with my second wife or whatever, and you're like, "This is weird." This used to be different subject matter, you know. Comedy lends itself to older. Well, and I think also, you know, the comedy audience, the average audience of comedy here, but also just kind of in general, is at least like 30-ish.
Right.
Don't you think? I mean, it's not that young people don't come out, but for the most part, it's later 20s
Yep.
is the younger end of the
Yeah.
average, and it's certainly all the way up into 60s, you know,
Right,
70s.
right.
But I think if on an average club, if you were to go to the Omaha Funny Bone or here, or just pick a good club, I think that, you know, you look out in the audience, it's like they're in their mid-30s to early 40s. They've got money. They're on a Saturday night. They probably
Right.
went to a fancy dinner, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's helpful. Whereas, you know, well, and I did the rap show. You know, you did a couple of times,
Yeah.
Beatdown. You know, that was a way younger audience.
Right. Yeah.
Than I would have at almost, even at a brewery show.
Right.
Because we had kids in there who were like getting their hands X'd because they were 19 and stuff,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, and they were lit.
They were there when they came that way. We can't stop that. some talented kids though. But yeah, that's interesting. So you transition. You felt yourself like you're like I'm aging
Yeah,
out of this
yeah.
rap thing. Like it's gotten to be not a good look. It's like being the too old dude at the college bar.
Right.
You know, I remember one time looking and seeing this old dude at a college bar and being like, oh, that guy. And then I thought, I mean, he's not that much older than me.
I made a promise to myself I would never be that guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get invited to parties often, and I'm that guy at that party.
Right. Yeah, but that's fine. It's like, but you don't want to like try to professionally be that guy, right?
Right.
You know? That's interesting. So you go into comedy, but you're kind of just, bouncing around in it. When you started to like, I'm taking this seriously. I'm like working really hard. Was it like right when you moved here, pretty much? Was you like, I'm hitting a reset, or was it like a little afterwards?
It was a little before I moved here.
Okay.
But Maryland is DMV, Delaware, DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
Right.
And it's 3 different states, but it's all one. So you would have to travel through 3 states to get a good open mic night.
Sure. Right. So you're driving an hour each way through different states and weird. So it's almost like you were going to Goonies from here every time you want to do an open mic.
Yeah, every night.
Yeah, which is such. I mean, then you move here and you're like, oh, it's 10 minutes. So I can walk to this one.
Hey.
Sure.
Like, oh, and so many opportunities here.
So basically, you were like, I'm taking it seriously now, but like, this hour to an open mic thing is much.
Right.
So then when you move here, because I remember as soon as you moved here, it's funny that I recollect you like being here and always being out every night.
Right.
But sometimes you forget that like there'll be people that you didn't even know you were seeing. Because they were like, they're new. You kind of ignore the new people.
Right.
And then they're around long enough and you start seeing them and they're like, I've been coming to your mic for 2 years. And you're like, shit, I feel bad now. They're like, you know my name, right? Yeah.
I used to hit people with that all the time. Yeah, he was like, I opened up for somebody and he was like, I see their feature or something. He was like, you remember my name, right? He was like, yeah, I remember you, Ira. I feel like a piece of shit now.
But yeah, so because I remember you coming certainly to my mic, my old mic, Red Menace, pre-pandemic mic, and so that would have been right around the time that you were like prepping for that next year to do the contest.
Mm-hmm.
So was the contest on your radar pretty much shortly after you moved here?
Yes and no, but I heard about it through like comics.
Sure.
And I came here and saw it was true and signed up.
Yeah.
And I really wish I put my best foot forward on that.
Oh, you think you were a little too lax on the contest?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Did you wing it?
In the beginning, and then I realized I had 3 minutes, and so I couldn't wing it anymore. And then I ran out of time, I guess, for my joke. I started off with a riff with the host, and the host was can I say it?
Yeah.
Earl Elliott.
Oh sure, yeah. He doesn't work here anymore, but yeah.
Right. And he said something about weed. And I was like, oh, Earl, that's my nigga. I bet his fucking credit score is 420. And that, like, did mediocrely well.
Really? I'm surprised.
Yeah.
That's the risk of, like, on an open mic, who cares? Like, if you're up before me, I'm going to say something about you. Or if you're up after me, you're going to tag my last joke, But, like, in a contest, you only got 3 minutes. If it doesn't hit, it's tough.
Right.
But if it does, they think you're a genius.
Right.
And then you only got to do like 2 okay jokes, and they're like, oh, that guy's the guy.
Right.
Like, it's kind of, to me, it's kind of the Hail Mary of content. And I was talking to somebody, I forget who it was. It was somebody that we interviewed, and they said that they were so confident that they probably weren't going to win the finals that they took a big swing and tried to riff. And it didn't go well. Wow. But they said that I remember thinking it was smart. They were like, I was probably not going to win anyway. So I thought, but maybe if the riff hits,
they'll remember
me and I'll have a chance. I thought, well, if you really don't think you're matched up well,
right? I
kind of see that. That makes some sense. I'm surprised so that the riff doesn't hit. It hits okay.
Right.
And then you're like, oh.
Yep. And then, I got a little nervous, and then I was like, a bird shit on my sock earlier today, and that wasn't a part of the joke, and I started wasting more time talking about that, and it was all downhill. Like,
then you're spiraling, right? And you're like, because now the clock's ticking. You're like, I got to say something funny in the next minute and 10 seconds. So you were not feeling great about the contest set. Even during, you're like, oh, no.
No. But, it's a good opportunity,
Yeah. Was it the first time was it your first time on stage here?
Like second or third.
Sure, yeah. Like you'd probably put your star and done like an open mic once or twice or
Right.
whatever.
Mm-hmm. But
Do you remember who won your night?
Nate Nickel.
Oh, so he was in your prelim round.
Right, yeah.
So I mean, hey, so here's the good news for you. You can go like, hey, what am I gonna do? I lost to the guy who won the whole thing. I mean, like, bad luck. If he hadn't been on that night, the riff would have crushed.
Right.
I'd have made the semis.
Right.
Because it is true if you're up against the, it's tough when you're on the same night as the winner.
Yeah,
but I didn't know he was in your prelim.
Right.
I thought you just meant because I know he won the whole thing.
Right. He told that joke where he starts beating on his chest and making all that sounds. I was like, oh man,
that's a good joke. And his act is really contest ready too because they're so short jokes. They're so tight.
Yeah.
I always say that like really tight joke writers and one-liner people like Nate Nickel or Andy Erickson. I don't know how well they did. Like Joe Christensen, our pal Joe,
Right,
perfect for contests because you can squeeze so many jokes into that 3 minutes.
Right.
And you're right. That joke where he would pound on his chest and make all that noise because people would be like, what?
Yeah.
Like they would just lean in.
Right.
He did that in the finals. That probably helped him win.
Yeah, man. It's like it's a good joke.
It is. And did you know him at the time?
I knew him, but we weren't
like buddies or
close,
anything.
Yeah,
You just like recognized him or whatever. But it's interesting. I've talked to other people who said that they had a guy on their night or a gal on their night when they were just watching him going like, "Oh, I'm not they're winning."
Right.
Which has happened to me, by the way. And so it didn't happen to me in the Acme contest. I was mad that I didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I should have. Well, I wouldn't even say I thought I should have won. I thought I was up there.
Right.
I wasn't, but I thought I was. But I've done a couple. I remember the first time I did the Boston Comedy Festival. I was really green. I was really new, and that was a pretty big festival, like with like guys from New York. I bet if I went back and looked at that list, I'm sure it was like Sam Morrill and Mark Norman. I'm sure there was all kinds of people like that in it.
Right.
But Sean Donnelly was in my night, and Langston Kerman. You know Langston?
Nope.
Incredible comic. He's now on The Boys. He's He's not one of the boys. He's the Archer. The black Hawkeye, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So he's he's a superhero. He's a goddamn superhero, Ira. So at the time he's not a superhero, but he was real handsome and definitely funnier than me, right? And cool as hell. At the time he was
don't you hate that when it's a trifecta?
Oh, it really was. Like, and you can't, if you met Langston, you'd be like, I would like to not like this guy, but he's so cool. And he's just a great guy, and he's so funny. And he was like a second grade teacher, I think, at the time.
Oh, okay.
And so he had all these so you got young, super handsome, super funny guy with these really smart jokes about being a teacher. I mean, it was like, and he didn't win either. Because Sean Donnelly beat both of us. And Sean Donnelly went on to open for Jim Jeffries and write for TV and stuff. Donnelly's fantastic. But I remember I watched Langston go right before me, and I was like, uh-oh. I still did my best, but I was like, I don't think my best is that good.
Right.
And then I was like, dude, you're going to win. And then we watched Sean Donnelly go up and just melt this room, and we were like, well, it's been really nice hanging out with him. It's good to see you. Obviously, it worked out well for him. He's a superhero. Right. And I watched his show, so it worked out okay for me.
Right.
But sometimes that happens where you see someone in a contest, and it's just like, you're like, well, tonight, that's the night. That's the show. That's the set.
I would hate to lose to a guy that I think I should have won against.
Sure.
And see them live my dreams. Like, oh my God, you're writing for SNL? What? Mm-hmm. You got a Grammy? What?
Yeah. I actually think it's kind of petty sometimes when people are mad when they lose to somebody, and you're like, but they're great.
Right.
You're like, what are you going to do? They're great. I mean, I don't know if I've ever lost I don't think I've ever lost a contest. I've lost where I was like, oh, this round I think I was better,
Right.
Or the worst is really when you're you know how this goes, when you're like third and you're the comic that breaks it open for everybody else.
Right.
And all the other comics always know. Like that is, I've never been in a room where everyone didn't identify that person, and people are always like, thanks, boss. You broke them open.
Yeah.
But everybody knows that you're screwed.
You were the savior for the night, but
if comics voted.
Right.
In my experience, comics would always vote for the comic that broke the room. If there's a top three, that person's always in the top three.
Right.
Because that's the hardest part. But if there's, if it's a 7, 8 people,
right.
Here it's 5 at most. Okay, that maybe is different. But on a 7, 8, 9, 10 person festival showcase, it's always such a bummer. You're like, they never make it.
Right.
I've seen people get screwed out of that, and just be like, oh, come on. Like, I'm mad on their behalf.
Right.
But it would suck to lose to somebody. I've never had that happen where I'm like, oh no, they're bad.
Right. I'm just like, how did they win?
And in a 3-minute, even a 5-minute contest, there could be somebody with 3.5, 4 really good minutes, who's not nearly as funny as somebody else. But if you got that tight little set,
you got it. You're in.
Now it's gonna. If you want to like get hired here, you definitely need more than the 3 minutes.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what the thing. Because I've seen people with the contest that are one good 5-minute set, and they never develop a lot more beyond that. And I'm like, well, you can keep crushing in 5-minute spots with that cool 5 minutes, but like, then what? Right. You want to get a 5-minute Netflix special? They canceled Queeby already. It's your shit's too short.
Right. Oh man. Who has the shortest Netflix special?
That's a great question. That would be really interesting. I bet you. Yeah, not like a showcase set, but like the actual. That's a really interesting question.
Yeah, I think it's Pete Davidson.
How long is his?
It's like 25 minutes.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
my dry bar is that long.
Not his newest one, but the first one.
Whoa, Chappelle had that really short one. I don't even know if that was on Netflix though. When he did the George Floyd. Yeah. Kind of like in the summer of the pandemic.
Unforgiven or whatever.
Yeah, that was fairly short, but that was more like a set.
Right.
Between specials or whatever.
Right.
Wow, that's a great question. 25 minutes is short.
Yeah.
So you lose the contest obviously that night or whatever? Did that like when you said you like on the moment you're like I should have prepped for this harder? Did that like give any incentive to like I'm gonna tighten this up, not for the contest but just in general?
Yeah. Every time like I hit a stage, it's a learning experience, and I especially in moments like that where I was the cause of my thing.
Right.
You know, I learned from that. You know, any person does in any field.
Sure.
You know, if you're a heart surgeon and you fuck up heart surgery, and they give you another chance.
They do, by the way. Something like, well, next guy up.
Yep.
Yeah, at least nobody like physically perishes when we have a bad set. That's nice. You're right though, and because it's funny. I was thinking about experience, because sometimes younger comics will ask me, about what should I do in this scenario or that scenario, and I realized experience is just having made all the mistakes.
Right.
You're just like, well, okay, here I screwed these 9 things up, so don't do these 9 things.
Right.
Like that's all I know is that those were bad.
You don't win. You don't learn from winning.
Very rarely. Yeah,
right.
Very rarely.
Right.
But yeah, you learn from. You're like, oof, that was rough.
They're called L's for a reason.
Yes. But as lessons go, getting bounced in the first round of the contest, plenty of comics have gotten that. Like Tommy Ryman,
right.
Plenty of people have. So it's and still work here.
Tommy got bounced?
Oh yeah, Tommy never did well in the contest. Everyone thinks Tommy won, but as he said in this episode,
he won.
No, I think he did it twice. One year he made the semis, and one year he got bounced in the first round. Never won.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it's interesting. A lot of people that people think won did. You know what I mean? Like it's funny how history rewrites itself over top of stuff. You know. But yeah, no Tommy. So and most of the people we've interviewed didn't win. By the way, we've interviewed most of the winners, but there's only one winner every year.
I thought I was special.
No. We've talked. No, I mean I'm the host and I didn't win.
Right. Hey,
I got 4th.
I thought you'd won. God.
No, I got 4th. My year was John Conroy, Gabe Noah, a guy named Zach Coulter who worked a ton. He quit right before you would have moved, and then Brandy Brown. So at one point, all 5 people in my finals at one point were all like working semi-pro or pro comics.
Right.
So that was like a tight.
Yeah, I mean, like that sounds heavy.
It was, yeah. I mean, even on the night, it was like, man, everybody's really good, like.
Right.
And at the time, I didn't know Brandy, and she was the only person I didn't know, and I was like, well, I don't know her. And then she did her set, and I was like, oh, great. Well, that was it was like, it was like, I thought there was one person I could for sure beat, and now I don't think I'm going to beat anybody.
Right.
Yeah, it was a great night.
Who won your
John Conroy.
John
Conroy won by 1 point. He beat Gabe Noah by 1 point. And it was tight too. Like they was like neck and neck, and they both beat me like soundly.
Wow.
I knew I didn't win. That was one where I was like, nah,
right.
I don't think I'm getting this.
They beat me by volumes.
Yeah, and so then you would have gotten hired 2 years after nearabouts. You do it in the contest in 18. You got hired in 20, right? Or was it the beginning of 21?
February 21.
Okay, yeah. So did you start coming to Acme more after the contest? Like, because you weren't always here every week, were you, before that?
Yeah.
So as soon as you moved here, you were just an every week guy.
Yeah.
So the contest for you was just like another thing, but you're like, well, I'm still coming here. I'm still trying to get hired.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Because some people like the contest will like, they're like, I used to come sometimes, but then that like makes them go all the time. So you were just like, nope, I'm already coming anyway. So the contest is another set.
Yeah.
So you just kept grinding it out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way, right?
Yep. Every day I'm hustling.
Yeah, absolutely. And then now you've been working here for a couple of years, and now we know where all the closets are. We know where everything is. We know where to pour our drink.
I gotta bump this feature.
Oh, congratulations! I didn't know that. I did. That makes sense though. They hired all the new MCs.
Right. Yeah.
Well, congrats. When's your first feature week? You have it yet?
I don't know.
It's not on the books yet, but your next week will be in middle.
My next week is I'm emceeing next week for James
Adomian, yeah. Of course, this will air in like 3 months, so
right.
By then that'll be long in the past. Honestly, by the time this airs, you'll probably have had your first feature week.
Right. Okay.
Nice. That'll be fun. So it's fun. MCing's fun. Featuring's great here. I always say that like MCing at the time when you're MC, you want to get bumped to feature so bad, but then you're like, oh, but I don't get called every 6 weeks anymore. I liked that year when I got called every 6 weeks. It was like, oh, look at me, I'm back already. Well, that's great, man. And so what's your advice for people doing the contests, if they win or if they lose, or prepping for it?
If they win, I don't have any information for you because I've never won.
I've won one.
Oh.
I won that roast during the pandemic, me and Nate.
Oh.
It was the first thing I've never won anything.
Really?
Yeah, we got first place in the whole goddamn country.
Nice.
It was cool. It was weird. It's like the one time I won something, I couldn't have a drink with anybody. No one was actually there. I was in my, it was like I was literally in my room alone on a Zoom with Nate and like 10 other comics, but then like 3,000 audience members.
Wow.
The Coast to Coast roast. Because it was pandemic, there was no comedy. People watched the hell out of that thing.
Yeah, I bet they did.
And it was because Mark Norman and Joe List hosted it, and then like Dina Hashem, Jeff Asmus, oh gosh, was Terhune in it? I mean, there was a lot of really.
Jeff Asmus, you beat Jeff Asmus?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
I'm a good roaster. Me and Nate are good roasters.
Big up, fucking.
I mean, it's funny. I know he's very funny. He used to open for me, but that's the other thing is if you do comedy long enough. It's funny. Some other comic was just complaining. They're like, oh man, this one kid used to open for me. Now he's on Netflix. And I was like, boss, you stick around long enough. Right. You got a bunch of people open for you. Some of them going to pop.
Right.
Like, get ready to have somebody much younger than you that was your MC, like, be on Saturday Night Live or something. Like, Abshire, Shane Gillis used to open for Nate Abshire.
Really?
Nate would bring Shane on the road. Very briefly. It was like, because Shane, like, started, and then he was an MC, and then he was, like, famous. Like, it happened fast. But in that little window between starting and when he really popped, Nate just ran into him. They hit it off. And, yeah, Nate brought him on a couple, like, Ohio gigs.
Really?
And, of course, now Shane's, like, one of the most famous comics in the country. That shit'll happen. It will.
I'm just curious of how these people get success that fast.
It happens for some people. That happened for Swartzen out of here. When Nick Swartzen, I was before my time, but when he started, I mean, he went. No, some of these people are just so mega talented, and it's like I think you got to be super, super, super talented, and have a break that early. Like if you're that talented and you keep grinding, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
But so there's some of those people that have the talent. It maybe takes them a couple years to catch on, but some of them get that break right away. And Swartzen went from like open micer to everyone's favorite open micer to like one of the favorite working comics here. And then he did the Aspen Comedy Festival. Like it was like 7 months into his tenure or something like that. And Adam Sandler sees him, and he's just like, "You're going to be my guy now." And Sandler starts putting him in movies. And Swartzen goes from just like local 20-year-old guy to Nick Swartzen. Yeah, exactly. And when he does his first Comedy Central half hour, like that was like his whole half hour because he was so new.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like, oh, this guy only has a half hour. It's like he's been doing it for like a year and a half or something. And that was one of the biggest Comedy Central half hours. Like, they reran that one more than almost any of them. I remember they ranked him one time, and it was like top 10 or something. You know, it was like huge. He was a kid.
You mean this milk grandma?
Yeah. I mean, he's so funny. But yeah, Shane popped really fast like that. So it can happen. But way more people grind it out. You know, way more people are just like, no, keep after it, and then, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I know what you mean.
With these boots from this road.
From what I've seen of people who win contests, here and otherwise, I always think it's important not to take your victories to heart the same way it's important not to take your losses to heart.
Right.
Because don't bum out if you lose, right? Like, don't quit. That doesn't mean you're bad.
Right.
But if you win, like, don't be like, oh, I'm the best and I can just, you know what I mean?
Like, I'm just going to ride this wave until.
Yeah. Because I've never seen that work.
Right.
I've seen people keep working really hard and parlay that success into more success.
Right.
But I've never seen somebody be like, all right, I won this one contest. I mean, even like true, like America's Got Talent and shit.
Right.
Like, you still got to work hard.
Right. It's fucking, fuck. I was going to say something profound, but.
We'll edit all this in. Honestly, we're going to edit this. It's mostly going to be me. People are going to be like, I saw Ira interview you. He didn't talk a lot. It's like, oh. So if you lose, what's your advice to people?
Just keep going. Yeah, I mean, keep grinding, keep doing what you do. Yeah, I mean, don't let that one failure depict your future in comedy. Yeah, I was going to say something about winning, but yeah, we already touched on that. It's fucking like just don't let it go to your head. In preparation, make it tight. You know what I mean, don't stray from your material. You only got 3 minutes.
It's such a short time.
Yeah,
it's crazy short.
Yeah. And when I first started comedy, I thought 5 minutes was like way too much time.
Yeah.
And you get used to it. It's like, I don't know. Just do your best.
That is honestly the best advice. But what I think is funny is that when people start off, they either think 5 minutes is like, oh my God, that's so long. But you hear a lot of guys at open mics be like, 5 minutes isn't even enough time to get started. And you're like, you've never done comedy. Let me tell you, 5 minutes is more than enough.
Right.
The audience is going to be like, this is enough.
Yeah. And usually, those are the same people who's like, 5 minutes, and fucking crickets up here.
Yeah. And then they realize they're like, oh, I think I ran out of stuff to say. Yeah. There was a dude just like a month ago who was just so mad. I mean, he got on the mic, and he got a 3 minute like you do, and he was outside just complaining to everybody about how he only got 3 minutes. And then after he left, I asked somebody, I'm like, how did that dude do? And they were like, oh, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It's like, what about 3 more minutes would have made that go from, oh, now it's gonna, I saved all the good shit for minutes 4 to 6.
Right. When I first moved here, I didn't know Acme. And it's like was the powerhouse it was, and it is. And I was like, they're gonna give me 3 minutes. They're gonna be begging me for more material. And it's like, I did my 3 minutes, and I was like, wow, these motherfuckers are serious.
Yeah.
But all comes in learning.
Yeah. I mean, I did the same. I remember the first time, I've probably even said this on this podcast before, first time I just came to watch. The first week, I was like, I'm going to watch. I'll sign up next week.
Right.
Because I just moved here. Mm-hmm. And I'd done comedy like 6 times in my life.
Right.
So I was pretty green. And I remember watching, and it was like, people who'd later become really good friends of mine, Eric Allen and Andy Erickson and Brooks Robinson and Cy. And I was like, yeah, some of these guys are kind of funny. I'm probably funnier than a lot of those. And I didn't realize, like, they were all doing stuff they wrote that week.
Right,
You know?
open mic.
Yeah, and then I came out to a paid show, and I remember seeing Ben Sandell, who I'd seen at the mic, and thought, that guy's okay. And then it was just like, boom, boom, just crusher. It was like, I never heard any of those jokes, and they all were just destroying the room, and I was like, I think I might have a pretty long way to go.
Right. I was in the Sisyphus contest, and there was this comic that I've only seen at open mics. I'm not going to say his name, but I've only seen him at open mics, and he was terrible. You know what I mean? And then I saw him at the talent show or whatever, and he was on fire. He crushed the whole audience, and I was like, damn, I didn't know you was funny.
Yeah.
You know? When did this happen?
Yeah.
It's like open mics are a different monster. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And also sometimes people just kind of get funny eventually, you know? It's like we all just hope it happens to us.
Right.
Well, thanks for doing the pod, Ira, and congrats on the feature thing. Look for Ira featuring all this spring and summer in Acme.
Thank you.
Catch you guys later.